Thank you for joining us. I know early in the morning on day 2 is always difficult, but appreciate you being here. This is going to be an awesome panel. Shout out to the organizers of Token. I think this is a great mix to have up here for us to discuss how we scale and get the next 100 million, billion, whatever we're benchmarking to these days. So to kick things off, my name's Eric Turner. I run a data and research company called Messari. Check us out if you haven't done so already. And just want to go around, do a quick introduction from everybody on the panel, and then we'll get started. So Arthur, let's start with you.
Hi folks, AveryChing, co-founder and CEO at Aptos Labs. Our history kind of goes back to Libra and Diem from within Facebook and Meta, where I was a tech lead for the project. And I think more than 20 of us left to actually start Aptos and build out the financial infrastructure for not just billions of people, but also thinking about now becoming the global trading engine. So I'm very excited to be here with all of you.
So to kick us off, I kind of want to level set on the topic that we're discussing today. So we were kind of catching up. Arthur and I had a conversation about this backstage, but the title of this is how we scale to the next 100 million users. And my question for everybody on this panel is that the right benchmark? Is it we want to have as many users on our network as possible, or is there a lower amount where maybe there are higher value users that you think are more important? And that's what you're thinking, like kind of what's the North Star for you?
I'll take a differentiated approach on this one. And to me, it's less about the infrastructure here and really thinking about the product. We work with large companies that have access to hundreds of millions of users. Actually, they come to us not with thinking about the fees and this and that, but they're concerned about the product experience. For example, we work with NBC Universal. They're thinking about how do we kind of create content that can be viewed, licensed by others. Their audience is hundreds of millions. They do care about the specific product requirements. Can I actually do a significant number of transactions and not have it cost prohibitive to me compared to the cloud? Can I support the kind of scale if I now roll this out to 1% users and then 2 and then 3, then it becomes like a Hulu type situation? If 100 million plus people are using it, what's going to happen to that? How do people log in? They have to have a simplified login that's very similar to the internet today. So I think for the 100 million users, it's more about, I think people hit on this point, it's about the utility you bring to the product experience, and then can you actually generate that utility based on 1, 10, 100 million users. But of course, Aptos is really meant for like that large scale. That's kind of our background, Genesis, coming from ASIC at billions of people, thinking about the way Libra and Diem would serve the kind of world's markets. And those are kind of the customers we're best suited to serve.
I think I tend to agree that we're really at a point right now where it is about the actual onboarding, the actual experience, the actual product. I think you all have built technical solutions that help with the scalability of the tech and the network itself. But so I want to get back to something you mentioned, because I think this is really interesting when we think about where we are in the world today, and when we look at the way that people are interacting with businesses. AI and AI agents are really big right now. And I think we're starting to see that come into crypto, and I think blockchains are actually great solutions for AI agents in a lot of ways, but I think you mentioned bots as like potentially being a user, but when we think about maybe AI agents as users as opposed to actual humans, have you thought about that at all when you built out your solution, and when you think about the tech that you're building to scale? Do humans and AI agents coexist? Do one of them matter more than the other, and how do you serve?
I'll take a very opinionated approach, which is, for Aptos, we kind of feel there are 2 strong use cases in crypto. One is to trade assets, and the other one is to support decentralized cloud infrastructure. And we think AI fits into both these cases very nicely. So on the one hand, AI is not great for blockchains because blockchains are very slow compared to traditional systems. They are very expensive for compute. And so that's why we have a project called Shelby we launched with hot storage, but it's going to eventually take on all the roles of cloud compute, inference, on-training, all that kind of stuff going forward. And so blockchains become this core centerpiece of a coordination layer, where you can build out all kinds of cloud primitives and really compete with the cloud industry, which is huge. It's a $300 billion industry, 30% year-over-year growth. And I think one that's poised to do very, very well for decentralized infrastructure, because we can compete on cost, we can compete on user control, and we can compete on many use cases around data sharing that are very novel in this space. And I think the future is going to be this kind of value creation through cloud infrastructure, and you have value exchange through basically exchanging assets on chain. And AI agents will play a very big role as well, because we had robo portfolios in the past that manage our funds and our assets. The future is going to be AI agents that kind of construct these portfolios on the fly, rebalance your asset construction every minute, every 5 seconds, depending on how cheap things are, right? And I think that's going to be a very, very new world for AI to kind of make its way into crypto and also into our products.
I kind of think we're saying the same thing, or a couple of people have mentioned this, where we're moving into a world where users won't necessarily know they're on chain, or they're not using you because they just love Monad, or they love Berachain or something like that, but it is the actual applications that are being built and the things that people are using that are consumer facing. So Avery, I'm curious from your perspective how you think about incentivizing bringing people onto your network and have them actually build really interesting things for users.
I think you said it's all about the products. That's the bottom line. I think nobody uses Facebook because it has a MySQL database underneath it, right? Like that makes no sense at all. And that's, I think, the big difference for us has been focusing on the product cases, use cases that we're very excited about and we think that are the most important for crypto. So instead of being a general purpose L1, we're saying, look, trading is extremely important. We're going to make sure that the stack is optimized for your trading experience. We're going to have things like preventing MEV, sound check attacks by having hidden transactions until they're kind of deep into the ordering phase that aren't possible in the network. So we're going to have the support for kind of giving makers a last look at transactions just before they're kind of completed to make sure that the spread is going to be extremely tight in your order flow. Or when it comes to cloud infrastructure, we're going to make sure that coordination layer is extremely well built to support cloud infrastructure that is going to be rivaling what AWS, GCP, and Azure can do in that space. And that verticalization of the stack to support these net new kind of ideas and applications that we think are going to draw in customers. It's less about the incentives, it's more about what you can enable from a new user experience. It just wasn't possible in the past. So I can get better fees. I can actually use cloud infrastructure for enterprise use cases like the NASDAQ and others that weren't possible in the past, and now supports new utility for these customers going forward. And so the more we can do that, that's like the real incentive, that you couldn't do something in the past that is really serving a need in the market. And I think it requires the entire stack to be redesigned and rebuilt for these use cases, as opposed to the previous use cases where people kind of built general purpose infrastructure and said, I hope someone does something really cool in this infrastructure. I think those days are behind us now.
So we have about a minute and a half left. I want to put everyone on the spot because, again, you're all competing for these users. So I'm going to go Arthur with you first. Tell the audience quickly why Tezos is going to win.
But for Aptos, the vision we really want to see is when you have all your finances happening on chain, which means banking, lending, investing, as well as transacting and volume happening in the global trading engine, that's a role we really want to live in. We think it's a huge improvement upgrade to his existing infrastructure.
All right, well, I'm feeling very bullish after this. I feel like not only are we going to onboard users, but we're actually going to have applications they find useful. So thank you very much to the panelists. Thank you very much to the audience. And I hope everyone enjoys the rest of the day of day 2.